This is a tutorial for Autocad two-dimensional drawings. We're using the Autocad 2017 to show how to do engineering drawings using Autocad. Any of the Autocad programs from Autocad 2000 to 2017 are basically the same when it comes to drawing two-dimensional drawings. What we'll do is we'll start the first drawing by pressing Start Drawing. Now, engineering drawings have to be drawn with precise measurements and dimensions. This AutoCAD is a perfect software for doing such a thing. Other drawing programs such as Paint or Photoshop can't be as precise as AutoCAD. So we're going to learn how to set up drawings properly before we start. Now, the very first thing that we have to look at is this screen. Now, this screen is a symbol of what we're going to be printing out in the end and what we're going to be drawing on. So it's like our piece of paper. And so we have to decide before we start to draw what size piece of paper that we're going to be drawing on, and what are the measurements going to be, the type of measurements, the units that we're going to be drawing in. Is it inches and feet? Is it millimeters? Is it centimeters? Is it meters? What are we going to be drawing in? So the first bunch of assignments that we're going to be doing are going to be on the letter size 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper that come out of our printer. So, and we're going to be using metric millimeters to draw in. So we start off first by going to Format. And Format, we pull down menu, we go to Units. We click at Units. And this is going to ask us or tell us what we're drawing in right now. So right now it's defaulted to inches. And we're going to be drawing in millimeters, so we're going to change this to millimeters. Now, we can see that there's a lot of other types of measurements that we could be using: inches, feet, kilometers, meters, yards, light years, all different types of things. But there's different jobs that we have to do. If we're doing a surveying job, maybe we want that US surveying in feet, but we're doing just some standard drawings in millimeters. So we click millimeter. We go up to the top, which is already says decimal, which we're going to be using decimal. Architectural, if you were going to be doing houses and buildings and things like that, in the US they use inches and feet. In Canada, we use inches and feet for some small buildings, but usually for large buildings, we still have to go to metric. We have engineering units, fractional units, so we can say a half of a millimeter or a half of an inch if that's what we wanted, and scientific notation. That one we don't really use too often. So we say decimal, keep it at decimal. The next one is precision, and the precision is just talking about how precise we want these millimeters to be. So right now we're set up for like 10,000ths of a millimeter, which is pretty fine. We're not going to get into to stuff like that. So what we will look at is probably moving this down to just a 1 decimal place digit. So if it was to say 41.5, I know there's one assignment that has a 41.5. If it did say 41.25, then we'd have to go to a 2 digit. So I think that we can get away with right now just going with a 1 digit. We could always change that if we had to. So the other side is about the angles that we can draw lines at. We'll look at that in the future, but we don't really ever change that. We only really just change these 3 things. So we say OK to that. So the next thing we have to look at is that size of piece of paper. And I said that we're going to be printing out our assignments on just printer paper, the usual letter size page, which is 8.5 by 11. But we're doing metric, so we have to think about the conversion of that. And it's basically the 8.5 is 210 millimeters, and the 11 is about 280 millimeters. So what we're going to be doing is drawing that the outside of the page in the future. So we have to look at this drawing area. And right now, we'll go back to format, and we'll go to drawing limits. And in the drawing limits, this is where it gets a little complicated. Down in this bar, it's called a command prompt bar. This is where we can type in things like if we wanted to draw a line or a circle, we can just type in the words, and it can help us find that command. And we can put in there we can type in the size of the circle or the length of the line or that type of thing. So right now it's saying we ask for the drawing limit. So it says limits, specify lower left corner. So Autocad, when they decided to make this program for drawing, they decided, well, we'll use this screen like an X and Y graph, and we'll just plot points on the graph, and then we'll connect these points together. That'll make our lines, and then that's a way that we would be able to print out drawings. So they decided that going across the bottom would be X of our graph, and going up the side would be the Y of the graph. So the bottom left-hand corner, they're saying, is 0, 0 of the graph. So we accept this. We like that. The bottom left corner being 0, 0. So 0 for X and 0 for Y. So we accept that. So we press Enter. The next thing is saying the limit specify the upper right corner. Now, we've talked about this being an American program that's defaulted to inches so far. So it's saying that an 8.5 by 11 page is basically around 12 inches by 9 inches. So they made it a little bit bigger drawing area. But we have to convert this. We got to change this over. So the very first one, that 12, that's the X value that's going across the bottom, and the 9 is going up. Well, we're going to change that to 210 for the 9 by 280. So let's do that. So we're just going to type in 280 for the X, because that's always first, and the 210 for the Y. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at this, and we're going to say, okay, we have this now, but I can't really see any changes. So what I have to do is go up to View, and I have to go Zoom All. So it zooms out to see these changes. And now you see this green line is the 0 value for the Y, and the red is the line, if you can see it right at the very bottom, is the line for the, that's the X, and the green is the Y. So now we have this lower left corner being the 0, 0, and we want to draw lines up, over, and down, and make the outside of the box. So what we're going to do is go to the draw command. This is the one we use a lot. And since line is probably the most common used command in Autocad, they put that right at the very top. So we take line, we click on line, and now down in the command prompt, it says specify line, specify first point. So again, this is a precise drawing. We don't just start anywhere. So we got to get right on the 0, 0, but that's pretty hard to get to with your mouse. So we're going to type in 0 for X, comma, 0 for Y. And now we press Enter. And now it's got that corner, right in the very corner, it's got it. And we're going to draw straight up 210. And all we have to do is point in the direction that we want to draw the line in. We can't just point it just off to the side. We have to follow that green line, and it's got that little X, so we know that we're right on the line. And you can see it says polar, it says 183.6 uh, greater than 90 degrees. Well, what that's saying is it's 90 degrees straight up. And the length of the line right now is 183.6. So if I was to click on that, that's how long the line would be. But I don't want to do that. So I want to type in the 210. So I type that in the command prompt at 210, and now I press enter. And now it gets me right at the very top, because that's how big I made the drawing area. And now I'm going to pull the mouse cursor across, and I'm looking for 280. But again, it's pretty hard to get it with my mouse, and that's kind of a waste of time trying to find it. So we just quickly type in 280, and we have it straight along that line going across, and we press enter. Now, we're going to come straight down, and we're just going to type in 210, and then we can grab the end of the first line that we started drawing, which is the 0, 0 point, that's the beginning point, or we could just point it in the right direction, type 280, or we could do something really quick and easy, and AutoCAD's full of all sort of shortcuts, and what we're just going to do is type in C for close. You can see that it says line specify next point, or close, or undo, so you could undo a line. By pressing U, that would undo that last line. So we're going to say C, and now we're going to enter, and now it closed that box. It knew that it was some sort of box. It wanted to finish that, whatever it was. Even if it was a triangle, it would go back to the very first point that you started with. So now we have the outside of our sheet of paper, and we've learned how to draw with the line. Let's recap what we've learned so far. So first of all, we've learned we're doing engineering drawings. They have to be very precise. So we're using AutoCAD. And we're going to use this screen as our piece of paper. That's what it starts off as. And we have to think about how we're going to print this and how big we're going to draw this. And we have to think about the units, the type of measurement that we're going to use. So we go to Format, we go to Units, we keep decimal, or if your computer was on something else, we make sure that it is decimal. Our precision is 0.0. We can change that in the future if we needed to. And we're drawing in millimeters. We can change that if we had to all of a sudden start drawing an assignment in inches, but we're doing millimeters for the first view. So we press OK. The next thing that we did, we looked at the format, which the size of the piece of paper that we're drawing on. So that's called drawing limits. The bottom left-hand corner is 0, 0. You can see that with my mouse. We're in the 0, 0. Over to this side is 210. So let's just say first we'll press enter, and because we accept that 210, or we accept the 0, 0. This is 280 across is the X. So that's the X value. The Y is 210. This is the Y value. So we like that. And it didn't change anything, so we had to look at view, zoom, we had to zoom out for all, and then we would be able to see it. Now, you can take your mouse and you can roll the ball. I'm rolling it towards me, and it's making the image smaller, or we could roll it away from me and it zooms in. So we can do that. We can also press on the mouse and grab it. It's called pan. You grab it and you move it around. I'm moving the mouse around. I'm holding the mouse roller button down, and I'm moving it around. So it gets kind of good. And then don't forget that we have our zoom and our all to get it back to the exact size that we need it. So if you were to lose this thing someplace, and you say, oh, where the heck did that thing go to? You always just go back to view and zoom and all, and it will come back. The center of your drawing will come back. The lower left corner will be your 0, 0 point. So then what I'd like you to do is to draw the outside of this box, set up your units and limits, and